Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. We've got Playa Props here on Monday to kick off the work week with you guys. 10 games in the NBA that we're looking at. Got Playa Props here in this episode and best bets with some sides and totals looks for you in a separate episode. So make sure to subscribe to that channel and don't miss any of the action we're bringing you all season long. Also want you to make sure that you check out the email distribution link that we now have for you guys every Friday, sending out an email newsletter for you guys. Got that linked in the description of the video here. Make sure you check that out and don't miss the bonus parlay. It's every Friday. Nate and I are bringing you a bonus parlay pick that we're making, and that has cashed 3 times in a row now. First 3 newsletters. Also coming off a nice heater in general last week. Really nice, almost sweep there. 7-1 total between the best bets and the Playa Props on Friday. So make sure to keep following along, and let's get into it, Nate, and keep that heater going with your first Playa Prop.
Ooh, Trey Jones over 13.5 points is plus money. I'm not really sure why, that is plus money, whereas you have to go to 20.5 for the points and assists. The Bulls are at Utah. Giddey is doubtful. Lonzo's out. Even Kobe White is on the injury report. I mean, he's been carrying this offense. So Trey Jones is definitely looking at added opportunity, which he has the last 5. And his energy level has been fantastic in these 5. Like just piling up stats all over the floor. Just an absolute spark plug. Like playing for his NBA life. I mean, for getting a consistent gig at least. Not just being on a roster. So 16 points a game, also 6 dimes a game, which is why I don't understand why we're adding the 7 here for books. But 134 offensive rating. His assist rate is actually lower than it was with the Spurs, though. His scoring is way up with this Bulls team, and that makes sense because they're not playing anybody else, right? Who can actually put the ball in the basket. Even Vooch gets a limited role. So we're looking at 21 points per 100 possessions with the Bulls now, 16.5 points per 36. That compares to 9.8 per 36 with Spurs. And when Giddey's been out 3 games now, 15.3 points, 34.5 minutes. The games he's played with Giddey in the Bulls, only 9.7 points, only 21 minutes. So it's one of the bigger bumps you will see in terms of like, now you're in the starting point guard role. You're going to get a huge opportunity against just an awful, awful Jazz backcourt defense, right? I mean, and we don't even know who they sit tonight. Probably no Walker Kessler on a back-to-back, right? So no rim protection, maybe no John Collins again. I mean, they're treading lightly, I guess, after getting fined for the Laurie Markkinen business. But either way, yeah, they're not going to be playing much defense. The total's 241 here, and Trey Jones is the secondary playmaker for this Bulls team, so that plays at an extremely fast pace.
Yeah. I mean, Kobe's going to go tonight, so yeah, he's number 1. I hit Trey Jones there against Houston too. Was really happy with that bet. Took an under on his dimes and an over on his points. Wouldn't be going under for anything for him against the Jazz. And I'll just share this with the folks who, the loyal followers here, because this is a little bit of info that is, I think, able to beat the market, because I don't think this has been realized. And I've been betting this recently for the last week, which is the Jazz are playing Colin Sexton when they play good teams, and they're playing Isaiah Collier when they play bad teams. So Sexton yesterday against a good team and against Minnesota played 30 minutes, got 22 points, took an over for him and an under for Collier, which cashed. And now I'm going the other way with that one. So just keep that in mind in this game that, like, yeah, there's not going to be much defense for Trey Jones because Colin Sexton probably ain't going to be getting 22 minutes, 24 minutes. It's just a complete pattern. Sexton bad team, 24 minutes. Sexton good team, 30 plus minutes. And that's what we're going to see in this one. So Isaiah Collier, as much as I love him, as much as his jersey has already been shipped to my house, is not a defender that I'm going to be really thinking is going to shut down a guy like Trey Jones. So let me go to that Kings and Memphis game here. I got another little sneaky look that I think is going to be really good, and I'm going to take him for a little alt line too. But I got Joe Val over 5.5 rebounds as his core line. That's minus 135. Trending down, it's like minus 140. I think it's going to get up to 6.5, but I'm going to take 6.5 at plus money right now as well. So I'm not scared of that at all. Like, here's the ridiculous thing about Joe Val, right? You look at him and you go, all right, he's playing like 16 minutes, 14 minutes. If Domas is around, right, we can't bank on even 20 minutes for this guy, maybe like 21, 22 here or there. But they're going up against the Grizz here. And so the starting lineups are going to give this team trouble, right? Big time, because the way that they're slated right now, Keegan Murray is guarding Jaren Jackson Jr., and that is a huge, huge problem. I promise you that will be a massive problem. So I think you need Joe Val out there because you're going to get 80 minutes, and they've had Domas guarding Triple J in their first two matchups. But in their first two matchups, there was so much wonkiness with the injuries. Like this game, there's no, there's no Edie. In this game, there was no whomever, right? Like Trey Lyles was out, and then Jaren Jackson Jr.'s out. So we didn't really have these matchups like we're going to have them today. But the way that they're slated, like if Keegan Murray's on Triple J, then he just crushes them. So I think we bank on at least 18 minutes for Joval, which makes you go, well, 18 minutes is not even enough to feel like you can get the boards for him, right? Wrong. When he has averaged 18 minutes in a game this season, he's averaging 8.3 rebounds per game in those situations. The man has not needed much time to get his work done this season, as we saw when he was on Washington and he would get 15 minutes and 20 rebound chances. Like he's getting a rebound chance a minute. And the best players in the league are averaging a rebound chance every other minute. Right. And that's the pace at which he's playing on the season as a whole, not even just like since he got to the Kings, like since he was with the Wizards. He comes in, he stands down there, he gets rebounds, he kicks it out. And I just don't like anything else from him because he's not even relied upon to do anything else on this team. Like on the other team, on the Wiz, he was the Domas of that team. He was handling the ball up top. He was getting assists, dribble, handoff assists, and the rest of it. Now it's like he's really not touching the ball at all. It's just like where's he going to get touches from? Levine, DeMar, Malik Monk, and Domas? There's nowhere for him to get touches, but I think he'll be running double big lineups for the purpose of boxing out Edie and getting those boards. So I love him to get about 7 or 8 tonight for some plus money as well.
Yeah, no Santi Aldama, right? So at least that gives a better path to getting more Edie minutes. And right. The Kings have been playing really slow and really mucking it up defensively. So I mean, we saw this total drop 8 points with Ja ruled out, I think, since open. Indicates, it's going to be a little bit more of a clunky game where there will be more rebounding opportunities. Yeah, and Sabonis might not be back up to his full minutes workload, so you get a little more Joval for sure. Speaking of minutes, Josh Hart, the NBA leader in minutes per game, we're fading him. 29.5 PRA is minus 106 at Caesar, minus 110 a lot of places, and I think that's a bargain. He's wearing down a little bit. I mean, Mikal Bridges was the one who was vocal, right? That he literally came to Tibbs and asked if maybe they could throttle down at this point in the season because he also is ridiculous minutes per game. And I see you just rolling your eyes at this Tibbs because the Knicks are 98.7% going to be the number 3 seed per Bleacher Basketball Reference. So like, why are we pushing these guys? Now we're facing an extremely slow Heat squad that also seems to be kind of tanking or just like not that interested in making the play-in with this current squad. And so, I mean, the Knicks, because of their seeding kind of being locked in and just because Brunson's out, 28th in pace in March. And the Heat, as we know, are really, really slow, 92.6 pace their last 4, allowing the 4th fewest OREBs in March. Still limiting assists per game, even though they've been waxed the last 4 by teams like Memphis and Boston, who can score extremely efficiently. The Knicks are not going to be as efficient with Bam on Cat, with no Brunson. And I mean, you look at Hart's numbers without Brunson, like he gets more rebounds and assists in a couple of these games. We're only looking at a 5-game sample, but we are looking at not getting any opportunities at good looks because the organizer's not there, right? I mean, he's shooting 38% versus 54%. He has a 97 offensive rating without Brunson, just went over for the entire game. And we're looking at 11 points per game. So even a monster RA game, which we get sometimes from Hart, probably not going to get you over. And that's probably not going to be the case against the Heat because of that pace, because these monster RA games usually come against fast-paced teams. And the last time he played the Heat, that 14, 7, and 3 in 43 minutes, huge amount of workload, but that game only 88 pace, and I would expect fewer minutes tonight at home.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with this game either, but I don't like Josh Hart stuff for sure. To your point, and I do think that it's not. I mean, look, he's having the time of his life playing in New York alongside Jalen Brunson. Yes, it's his like best friend. It's also the best person to keep him open, for him to play off of, like all that kind of stuff. So, I don't like the points. He's not going to get very many open looks from 3. That's a key here as well. Is like hitting a 3 really catapults Josh Hart over 10 points in that game. Like he's normally getting 3 to 4 buckets either in transition or off of like, coming up free because other guys are focused on Cat and Brunson, but also the 3-point shot. Like there's just nothing there for him to stretch the floor with the way that this team is also going to be playing defense on him like this. They've been attacking the ball handler a lot, but they're not as bad in places like the corners this year for the Heat. So yeah, it's not a good Josh Hart game. I totally agree. I'm going to go back to that Kings game though, because I was talking about the mismatch that Triple J is going to force. So I should probably take over on his points because I don't really care who is out there to guard him. He just put up 28 when Domas was guarding him in the last game. They did not have Edey in that one. One of the 2 games they played without Edey. One of the games he only played 25 minutes. He had foul trouble in the first game against them this season. Second game, no foul trouble, no Ja, no problem, 28 points. And like I said, if Keegan Murray's on him, wonderful. Like we're about to bully you all the way into the stands there. If Joval is either Joval or Domas is guarding him, well, if Domas is guarding him, like as much as he's improved as a defender for Domas, old alligator arms still ain't going to be dealing with Triple J too easily when he puts his chest into him and then has way longer arms than Domas does to finish around the rim. When you look at him this season without Ja, right, if you give him about 30 minutes at least in the games he's played without Ja this season, we're looking, well, if you give him 30 to 34 specifically, you cap him at 34, I think his ceiling is 36 to 37 tonight, as they're still very much so trying to accrue a top 4 seed here for a home game in the first round. But in those games, he's at 28 points per game. He's over in about 70% of those games as well. If you don't cap him at 34 and you just take all the games where he's played at least 30 minutes without Ja, he's averaging 31.6 points per game in 12 games this season. So he is the dude with a 30% usage rate without Ja, who is expected to take 20 to 24 shots. So I'm going to bank on him in a very good matchup being able to do that here in this one. Like I said, the key here is he's still playing off the spot up, which is huge against this Kings team. And the reason that he has killed them so consistently is being able to get those open looks from 3 because he's playing the worst spot up defense in the league. He went 3 for 9 in the last game, only took 1 in the first one on the season, but I would expect a high dosage of 3s from Triple J once more. Again, if there's a big that's too slow on him out there, those 3s are going up. If that big decides to close out that space, he's taking you into the lane where he has done very, very well as a driver this season in the top 15th percentile there in terms of drives per game and points per game off of the drive for Triple J. So this team down low, they've been a little bit better overall, but still bottom 10 in terms of a paint defense for the Kings, who are still giving up the 3rd most points in the extended paint. A little bit better like right at the rim, but not worried about that for Triple J. He can dunk on you. He has a floater game. His best move is bullying you to the rim, throwing it up, and then getting the offensive rebound and just putting it back. So I expect plenty of that as well in this game, and I expect him to have a really, really big game and be the reason the math changes all over the floor for this one.
Yeah, I mean, first glance, no Ja, maybe no Scottie Pippen Jr. So it's like, let's look at Desmond Bane, but the books were like really wise to that in terms of his bump. I mean, after the 25-point triple double or whatever last no Ja game, but you're not getting the same bump quite from Triple J here. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe like 2 points above what his prop would be without Ja. So I think it's definitely more exploitable than Desmond Bane, who, I think Triple J, like you're highlighting, might have the better individual matchup here against the Kings team that is just kind of slow in the front court.
And Desmond Bane's going to be on ball, right? And that's kind of how you beat his assists are probably a decent look. They're all priced in there now. The 7.5 dimes, even the rebounds are at 6.5. Like when Ja's out, he goes crazy with all the just controlling the game as well as rebounding and starting the break, right? Which is definitely by design. I think he'll be diming up a good amount in this one, and we'll be able to find a guy like Triple J. So that's all the time we have for you, though, in Player Props. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that channel. Want to make sure you don't miss the best bets we have with some sides and totals looks for you guys in the other episode. And until we see you next, happy betting.